Welcome to the latest episode of the 1 Hour, One Brain Cell podcast, your trusted source for breaking news and hard hitting questions like whoever decided putting John Legend in La La Land wasn't going to be a jump scare every single time he was on screen. We're back. It is a milestone episode 15 for us, which I didn't realize until just now when I was going over the show notes. As usual, I am ill prepared and joined, as always, by my co-host, Richie Flores, who is the world's foremost expert on acquiring a taste for freeform jazz.
And I am joined by my co-host, Jordan, who I believe is coming to us via 2 hours of sleep. So thank you for joining me this week. I don't know how you're alive to do this show right now, but I know you're still going to crush it.
Yeah, I'm not alive. This is a hologram. All of it is a simulation. I'm it's astral projecting. I'm still asleep in that room over there. Just horizontal. Yep. Oh God. Yeah, it has been a time, but we're still here because we care enough about making this silly little show that we decided that we need to do an episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and as a result of that, I think we have possibly one of the most loosely structured episode outlines that we've ever had. It's not the most loosely structured episode, but it's close because we only have 3 or 4 bullet points or something. But as we threatened last week, I'm gonna make Richie talk about La La Land because I forgot that he had watched it and he had not given me his review yet. So obviously we needed to do that. We can Formula 1 brain cell recap, which we won't get to do for another 2 weeks after this, which is kind of a bummer because I was getting used to that segment. And then we got some other random stuff tossed in there, but what do you want to start with? Where do we want to go with this?
Let's just kick it off with La La Land. We teased it on last week's show, so we might as well get to it right off the bat for our aptly unnamed segment where I talk about my Letterboxd reviews for movies.
Yeah, I kind of dropped the ball on you there because I told you I would help you brainstorm segment ideas this week, and then I just simply did not do that. So my fault.
Oh well. All right, here we go. Let's see if I can find it. I have to browse through all my movies I watched recently. Where are you? Okay, here we. Oh wait. Oh, films. Here we go. Okay. Madame Web, Dune, Love Lies Bleeding, Mean Girls, Holdovers. There's Past Lives, Fablemans, West Side Story. La La Land. Here we go. Found it. You're gonna kill me when I read this to you.
That's quite a collection. That's quite a collection.
You're gonna kill me when I read this to you, and so this is why I wanted to hold it back until the show because the show might be over 4 minutes in the show.
Yeah, we're gonna be reading Richie's obituary.
I gave the movie 2.5 stars.
Okay, I'm just walk me through it.
I said this is because I don't do long letterbox reviews. I'm not a reviewer. I like to keep it like one sentence. So this is my one sentence review. I said, just didn't vibe with this one and dozed off at times. That was my review.
I mean, I guess I get it. Like I've certainly had movies like that. I think you should give it another shot when you're fully awake.
Here's the thing. I watched it at like 8 o'clock. It wasn't like I was watching this at like midnight and like trying to like stay up late to watch it. I was watching at a reasonable time, and I was like, I was okay with the first like half an hour of the movie, and then I was like,
so here's the difference between you and I is that I was alarmed when you said you started at 8 o'clock because I was projecting forward and being like, that means that you're not going to sleep until like 10:30, and like that's not my vibe at all. I'm like trying to be asleep by 9. Like let's wrap it up here. Like if I have to start anything later than 6:30 p.m., it's probably not getting done. So
No,
I don't know.
so like that time I got
No.
home from the Oscars night and turned on Oppenheimer at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, and then you did fall asleep during that one,
I
I
did.
think. So
I fell asleep at like 12 at midnight. Yeah.
so that's not exactly the worst strike against a movie is that you fell asleep during it because you fell asleep during Oppenheimer and the audience knows how you feel about Oppenheimer.
Yeah,
So
that's true. But in my defense, that was also a day in which I was out at a NASCAR track for many hours that day, and so I was like, it was a long day. So at the end of a long day and a radio show, it's like nappy time.
that's true. All right.
I'm
That's
also
fair.
old, folks. I'm also old, and I can't stay up as late as I used to anymore. I used to be like 2 a.m. used to be my bedtime, and now it's like 12:30, and that's pushing it.
Yeah, I think we're still both retroactively recovering from that all-nighter that we pulled this summer because I don't think we should one, I don't think we should have done that. And two,
No,
I
that was a
like
terrible idea.
two, I don't think we should do that ever again. But yeah, that was rough. I think we've talked about that one that that was
No, yeah,
horrifying.
I'm
And
trying
then
to
all of
remember.
that just to watch the US women's national team
Yeah,
lose.
I'm trying to remember if we did. I don't think we talked about it on the show. Maybe we. I don't think we did because it was over the summer. But yeah, we got back from Boy Genius concert and we were like, okay, well, U.S. women's team is playing at such and such a time, so we can go. By the time we get our Uber back, we can go to Denny's, hang out there. You can steal the rest of my hash browns, and then and then
I
it's
believe those
perfect
were
timing.
offered, but continue.
And then it was perfect timing to get back to the hotel in time to watch the women's national game against Sweden. And the problem is, I forgot the time zones existed. And so we had to wait an entire extra hour.
Mhm.
And then both of us had somewhat early flights in the morning too, so we had to be out the door by like I don't know 7 o'clock in the morning or something like that. And so like it was bad. Yeah, it was. And I managed to stay awake the entire time because I could not sleep during the game. There's no chance in hell I was going to fall asleep during the game. So
I slept
never.
during the game. Just in and out, just on and
Jordan
off,
did
but,
not
like,
make it.
no, I didn't make it. I got horizontal, and I started to, like, do one of those where you, like, close your eyes, and then you kinda, like, wake back up, and then that progressively happened for, like, the whole second half. I was like, "Hmm." But we saw the ending, which is the important part. But literally,
Yeah,
like,
we did.
as almost as soon as the game ended, like, we had to call our Uber and go to the airport, which was so horrifying for us.
So
That
true.
was not fun. Anyway, um, yeah, don't ask your old friends to stay up late because we won't make it. That's not good for us. Oh my god. I guess we could circle back, but like the La La Land was interesting for me because it came out when I was in high school, I believe. I want to say it was 2016. Can you fact check that for me?
Let's see.
2015,
2016.
2016. There you
Mm-hmm.
go. So it came out when I was a senior in high school, not to age myself on this podcast, but um and I think like part of what I really enjoyed about it was like that time period because there wasn't a lot of stuff that was made in I was trying to figure out how to articulate this before the show and like clearly I didn't work on it very well, but like I think that we tend to develop a connection with stuff that came out during periods of change in our lives. Like you and I still love the music that we loved when we were in middle school and high
Mm-hmm.
school and like whatever else. And I feel like we're always going to be attached to that
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And it's the same thing I talked about on the Christmas episode a long time ago was like we associate that with like memories of change or whatever it was. So I think part of it was the time period because like I was getting ready to graduate high school and there wasn't a lot of stuff that came out around that time that felt particularly like resonant to me in that way that it was like something that I was going to hold on to creatively. Um but I went into that movie with no idea what it was about. I didn't do any research beforehand. It wasn't like now where you can I wasn't going on Twitter and being like, what do other people think about this movie? Like we didn't
Right.
have
Right.
Letterboxd. Um And so, like, thank you to my friend Nico from high school who asked me to go see this. And because I went into that with no expectations and came out like fundamentally rewired. I ended up being the kind of person that owns the La La Land score on vinyl. So, like, that should tell you something about that attachment. What was I think, and when I looked it up, I saw a bunch of comparisons between this movie and Whiplash, which I know that you and I have. You've seen that, yeah?
I have not seen Whiplash.
You've not seen Whiplash, okay? Because
Hmm.
I was gonna maybe draw some comparisons because I think a lot of people tend to put those in the same Venn diagram as like stories about creatives, like trying to excel in their chosen field necessarily, but then like the sort of humanness of it and like how visceral that is, that you don't always succeed at that thing that you choose. Um, and when I was looking it up anyway, there's tons of people that were out there that were like, Whiplash did this particular element better, even though they both tried to touch on it. So I think they're maybe somewhat related in that way. But I just really liked it. I thought it's sort of a love letter to cinema. It's sort of a love letter to music. Um, it's maybe a little bit self-serving because it's like, Hollywood making a movie about trying to make it in Hollywood. And you're like,
Hmm.
all right, we get it. Um, but I don't know. I think it's relatable. You can find something human in those characters. Like there's something to enjoy in it, even if you didn't enjoy the entire scope of the movie for a lot of people, like whether it's the music, whether it's the cinematography, whether it's just Emma Stone being a great actress, or Ryan Gosling being a great actor, or John Legend coming in with a full jump scare. Like, I can't get over that. Why did we need to put John Legend there? Anyway, so I'm interested to know what element of it was boring for you. Like, was it like, you're a Broadway guy, so it can't have been like the
Yeah,
musical part.
I think that was part of my issue is it was a different style of musical than I was expecting.
Hmm.
Does that make sense? Like I was expecting more of like a Broadway style type of music, and it was a little bit more jazz
Sure.
music type.
Yep.
And so there's a lot of like dance numbers and stuff like that, which were really well done.
Right.
And
So
I just didn't
okay, I
expect
could
it.
see
I
that.
didn't expect it to be that type, and so like I think that's why. And so like that's where I was like kind of dozing off and falling asleep, is there just wasn't a lot of dialogue or anything or that kind of stuff to like keep me engaged with the movie. So
Okay.
I was just kind of like,
I could
like
see
just like
too, from that perspective, why you liked, or at least were like fine with the first 30 minutes, because it does
mhm,
open with that like really big, grand, one shot musical number of all the people on the
mhm,
freeway. And then you have someone in the crowd that happens just slightly later on. And then, to your credit, most of the stuff from there is more so down tempo. I
mhm.
think that plays into the story some, without waxing poetic about La La Land for like an hour, but because I probably could.
Here's the thing.
Um,
I will make a deal with you. I will watch it again and I will give it another
okay,
try.
okay,
Well, I said the reason why I gave it to Lori is I just couldn't stay awake with it, and I was like
sure,
I kind of almost bailed on the movie in a way, and then I was like I ended up waking up I think or like being awake for the last end. I was like I missed about 45 minutes of this. I don't know exactly what happened, so
mhm,
maybe if I give it another try, I'll actually like it more than I think I did. But like it just didn't stay with me as much as some other musicals I've watched in recent memory. Like I love Tick Tick Boom from a couple of years
sure. That
ago.
was great. That was
Tick
great.
Tick Boom,
I
Andrew
West
Garfield.
Side
That was
Story.
like
You had West Side Story on your letterboxed.
West Side Story was
That was
terrific
great.
as well. Both of
Mhm.
those movies are awesome and like and they're so different than what La La Land tried to do. And so um those movies are great. And maybe it was just I honestly think it was just the type of genre of music that
Sure,
just didn't truly connect with me, even though like I'm gonna make a comparison a little bit because I can say the same thing about Dune. I was talking with my friends the other day about Dune. I was like, I just couldn't like I get it. Everything about the movie is great from a production side of things. The acting was great, the music was great, the production design was great, like the cinematography was amazing, but I just couldn't connect with the story. And I think that was part of my problem with La La Land is for whatever reason, I just couldn't connect to it in a way that other people connect to it. And that's
sure,
okay.
sure. I think that movie definitely hit for like my friends and people I know that were like anybody that's an aspiring creative, anybody that's an aspiring, performing arts or um, music, theater, acting, film, TV, like whatever it is. There's definitely more of a human and kind of like relatable tether to that for people that want to work in those fields. And like obviously that doesn't have quite as much of an impact on you and I, but I think anybody that's tried to break into that industry will at least have like that attachment to it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That was why a lot of people liked it, is it was sort of, for as much as you could be, still realizing that it's Hollywood making a movie about making it in Hollywood, but like just ever so slightly pulling back that curtain and being a little bit real about the process of what it takes to make it in the industry. There's a little bit of that involved. So I think that was why people liked it. But anyway, there's also some good stuff about it that's like Ryan Gosling actually had to learn how to play the piano for his
Mm-hmm.
role. And that's cool. Or like that they physically shut down an LA freeway exit to shoot that opening scene, which I can only imagine how infuriating that was for the entirety of Los Angeles. Um, the traffic's already bad. Let's not shut down an entire chunk of the freeway. And it probably had to be like, all right, we got to get this done in one day because the Department of Transportation is not going to let us
Right.
move on
Right.
this, like whatever it may be. But yeah, I like that movie. I would say give it another try, but don't approach it from the angle of it being like a Broadway
Mm-hmm.
musical, like from that perspective. Like, I don't know, maybe what part of what sold it for me is that I didn't even know it was a musical at all going
Yeah.
into it. So you
Mm-hmm.
going in with a story first approach versus a musical first approach perhaps
That's a good way to put it. That's a great
changes
way to
the
put
lens
it.
a little bit.
That was a
Yeah.
great way to put it. Mm-hmm.
So see how you do it. It's not for everybody, but I do think uh given you and I's very similar and shared taste in a lot of things, it might sit better with you the second time around, but I guess we'll see. We might make Richie revisit this on a future episode of the
Mm-hmm.
podcast if he does indeed like it. And people are still talking about it years later because we saw this. What is it? 2 weeks ago now with the Oscars.
Mm-hmm.
It's like anytime you put Emma Stone and Ryan Gosling in a room
Right.
together, people are
Yeah.
like La La Land alternate ending. That's like just there's people still talking about it, and they're still talking about it because of that Best Picture thing. But like,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna hands off on that for now. But that's okay.
Oh, so I read a. Can I digress for a second?
Yes, always.
I saw. I don't know. I don't remember. I think it was a TikTok. Could have been a Twitter thread, and it went back and explained that entire fiasco at that particular Oscars and what
Okay.
happened, because I had
Yep.
completely forgotten about this and the reasoning why it happened. So there are two envelopes for every category. Okay,
Okay.
and so uh, and it's basically like they have one that goes on stage with the presenters, and then they have another one that's there with a member of the accounting firm that they open at the same time to basically double check to make sure that the results match.
Okay.
So that's where the kind of problem deliberated. They have one on the left side of the stage and they have one on the right side of the stage. And generally, the presenters come in one side of the stage and then they'll leave on the other side of the stage. However, for the best picture, that particular day, they had the presenters enter from the other side. And allegedly, the guy who was in charge of the envelopes on that side was like not really paying attention. And so he was like backstage, like taking pictures and like live tweeting the show. And he wasn't paying attention.
Checks
And so
out.
he forgot to like discard the best actress card, which is what Warren Beatty ended up getting on stage, was the best actress card, and which is
Okay.
instead of the best picture card, right? And so that's what happened, is that basically guy wasn't paying attention and forgot to discard that one, and it just so happened that that's the side that Warren Beatty entered on, and so he got the wrong card, hence chaos ensues.
Gotcha. Because I know they were making a big deal about that, at least this year. That was like they made all the print bigger on
Yeah,
all the cards, and they
yeah.
were like, make sure that you emphasize the category on this so that doesn't happen again. That that still goes down as like a good internet moment, but not a very good. I don't know. I can't even imagine if you were part of the cast and crew for one of those two films. Like, what are you going through in that moment?
Mm-hmm.
It's like,
I mean,
oof.
shout out. I don't remember who it was that like got on stage thinking that La La Land had won. It was like, hey, there's been a mistake, and it was like, hey, congratulations to Moonlight. I don't remember
Mhm.
who it was. I don't know. I don't think it was Damien Chazelle, but it could have been somebody else. And yeah, I remember watching those Oscars live and was like, what is happening right now?
It
Part of
was
which because
certainly a
during
moment.
that particular Oscars, I was rooting for Moonlight to win because that's a movie
Okay,
I really like. It's a great
I like that
movie.
one. Mhm.
Um, Knowing the fact that Moonlight and La La Land were like the two kind of head-to-head movies that year. Arrival was in that year, which was it's another great movie.
That was a good
Uh,
one. Yeah.
from Denis Villeneuve. Denis Villeneuve.
Mm.
Fences and Scene, Hacksaw Ridge, Hell or High Waters, great. Hidden Figures was great. La La Land, Lion, I don't even know what that is, and Manchester by the Sea. So that was a good year for movies too.
That was a good year for movies.
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple of those that were like, that's a stacked category.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we could segue to our other point with that if we're done chatting about
Mm-hmm.
La La Land.
Mm-hmm.
Let's segue to something that I am very certain is only happening because they're trying to win more awards with this. But Richie has on the sheet uh songs you would like to see in Joker 2. Do
Correct.
you
This
wanna
yeah,
lead
this
with
is
this?
this there was a story this week that came out from Variety with some details because the details have been very few and far between. They're like keeping it very lock and key. And from Variety this week, Joker 2 musical details revealed. At least 15 cover songs, original tracks may be added. May be added. So we are expecting this movie to be a jukebox musical of some kind, which makes sense considering they casted Lady Gaga in the role. And I think you'll agree with me on this. I would not give a lick of crap about this movie if Lady
Yes,
Gaga like was not in it. Like I hated the first Joker movie. And
I did
to
too.
this
Thank God,
day,
because I was like, I could go. I
yeah,
was like preparing my notes for this, and I was like, I think that Richie also didn't like this,
yeah.
but I'm gonna just totally dunk on his thing if he did.
And yeah, and like I'll still I was debating this with my friends not too long ago. I was like, it just wasn't my thing. It was uncomfortable to watch the entire movie for 2 hours.
Yes,
Even if Joaquin Phoenix was terrific and he was, I just couldn't. It just made me uncomfortable watching, and that's not why I go to the movies to do is to feel uncomfortable. You know.
we
So
come to this place for magic.
yes, exactly.
I love it.
Heartbreak feels good in a place like this.
Yeah,
So
Heartbreak
when
Joker one
so
did not feel good.
so getting Lady Gaga in this is truly like, okay, we understand that this movie was only for one particular set of people, which is like white dudes for some like who's right. I mean, that's mostly who I see on Twitter was like, oh, this is the greatest movie of all time, blah blah blah, right?
Right,
So
it's
this
the film bros
yeah,
category. Yeah,
exactly. So this is like the cast to try and lure in more people to see this sequel. And I don't know if I'm gonna go see it in theaters or not. They still haven't sold me quite yet. I still got to see like what the trailers and such what we're going with. But at least you get Lady Gaga in there, and you tell me it's a jukebox musical, then we're good. Just don't let Joaquin Phoenix sing. I don't want to hear that.
right. I don't we don't need to hear that. I have Okay, here's the 3 bullet points I have written down for this in order in my, like, talking points. Uh, 1, we didn't need Joker 1, let alone Joker 2. So, anyway. 2, Lady Gaga was really good in obviously, she was in A Star Is Born, like, she's a terrific actress. She's been in, American Horror Story on television as well. 3, this is I actually physically have this written down because I needed to say it. It was, I love Lady Gaga. I'm ride or die for Gaga, but even that's not enough to get me to pay any sort of money to see this movie. I will not do it. If I wanted a jukebox musical, I would simply go to my living room, get my copy of Moulin Rouge, and watch it for the 35th time, because that's one, you can't improve upon that. If you haven't seen that movie, you need to see that movie. You can't
That's still on my. It's
improve.
on my list. I just
You
can't find
can't
it
improve on
anywhere.
what they did. You cannot
Just
improve on that. Yeah.
when I come
That
visit, have it at the ready so we can watch it.
Oh, it's ready. I have it on DVD. I have it on DVD. My collection of DVDs is like exclusively musicals and jukebox musicals, and then because it's like Chicago, The Sound of Music, Moulin Rouge, Mamma Mia 1, Mamma Mia 2. I have La La Land, but it's at my parents' house, but I have it like digitally. Um and then Valentine's Day with Taylor Swift for no reason other than because it was $1 at Half Price Books and it has Taylor Swift in it. And two, About Time, which is like also one of my favorite movies with Domhnall Gleeson and Rachel McAdams.
Mm.
Have you seen that one?
Nope, doesn't sound familiar.
Oh, girl, you're watching that while we're here.
Okay, I'm
We're
gonna put that on my list.
We're gonna fix that real quick. Right after we watch Saltburn.
Oh God.
No, we're not doing that. We can't
Nope.
do that. We have too much planned. I was trying to think about it. I was like, we actually have too much planned. Like we essentially have stuff like pretty much every night that you're here. I don't know if we're gonna do it unless we pull another old person all-nighter, and I don't foresee that in our future, but I guess we'll try. We'll give it a shot.
No, we're not doing that again.
Old
Trust, we're
person
not doing.
all-nighter. Let's go.
Hey, if Jim Carrey can do it, and Yes Man, with a bunch of
All
Red
right.
Bulls.
Hey man, we're good. We're covered.
We have
Don't worry about it.
we have enough. If we have enough, then
Don't even worry about it.
we're good.
We have Red Bull in this household. We have Red Bull. I don't know. And pivoting back to Joker, I think even if it wasn't Joker, okay, so we're gonna extrapolate. This is my soapbox that you can go off of. But even if it wasn't Joker, let's just set this aside and be like, we have one decently successful movie that came out. Let's make a second one. I think we need to throw that out. I do. I think that we need to throw out the notion that we need to milk as much money out of an IP and a franchise as possible and continue to just make watered down, less impactful sequels because we're desperate to have 3 of every movie in a franchise. I think we'd be better off creatively if we just invested time and resources into really good standalone movies. Like, also, it's usually those kind of things that we see win those film awards is like really good standalone movies. And that's for a reason. Like, you actually have folks that are committed to the story and want to tell it properly and want to tell it with the full weight that it deserves, rather than, thinning the meaning in the story by trying to Fast and the Furious everything. Because like
Right.
at its best, you have, I guess with a sequel, like at best you have success. Like we can talk about The Godfather, we can talk about The Dark Knight, we can talk about, I don't know, what else? Like Scream 2, arguably. Like you could, I don't know, you could pick some of those franchises and like you have a good sequel or a good third, like Pirates of the Caribbean. You could talk about that too. While we're going on Hans Zimmer track here, but like at worst, you just water down the original story and you put out some garbage product that then reflects negatively on the first one somewhat. And at its very worst, you end up with Attack of the Clones. Like stop trying to make infinite sequels.
I saw somebody trying to defend Attack of the Clones on Twitter the other day, and I did put my phone down. I was like, "That's enough internet for today." I was like, "Come on, what do we do? Revisionist ass history going on?"
Jar
No,
Jar Binks, Sith Lord.
Attack of the Clones was not good. Stop it.
Jar Jar Binks, Sith Lord. Do it. They won't. They're not brave enough. But anyway, I don't know. I think we need to stop doing that.
I actually 100% agree. I agree. There's a reason why a lot of your, like, think of the greatest directors of the last 30 plus years, right? Spielberg, Christopher Nolan, Quentin Tarantino.
Sure.
Throw Denis Villeneuve into that mix, right?
Sure.
Guillermo del Toro's won Best Director before, right? All these big name directors who have won awards. Alfonso Cuarón, he won a Best Director award too. Like all these guys, um, and they don't do they don't do like franchises
Right.
for the most part, right? The one
Sure.
closest one I can think is Steven Spielberg with Jurassic Park. I guess he did
Sure.
Indiana Jones too, I guess, but like
Yeah.
outside of that, they
Loosely,
really
you have like Kill Bill 1 and 2, but I don't
yeah
know. I consider those completely separate things. But
yeah they're yeah exactly. It's one story because they didn't want to put out a 4 hour cut of a movie.
well, yeah, back when people were like, no one's going to sit in a movie theater for 3 hours. Who
Mm-hmm.
would do that?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we had Infinity War and everybody was like, oh my God, how do I plan my pee breaks around Infinity
Yeah.
War? And now you're just like, well, here's another 3 hour movie. Good luck. You're like,
Still waiting for Quentin Tarantino to re-release the Kill Bill, the whole bloody affair, the whole thing
Mhm.
as on one disc, but it hasn't happened yet. But I'm still waiting for it.
He might do it. Isn't Tarantino supposed to be like done or
On his last, he's
out of
coming up on
movies?
his last movie allegedly. Yeah.
Okay. So I was like, I know there was a number, but I don't know whether he got to it yet.
Yep. He said he was going to be done at 10, and his next movie is going to be number 10.
Okay. Is he
Mhm.
is he going to be done at 10? Do we think?
I doubt it.
I mean, it's not like he needs the money from it or the acclaim from it. Like he's fine, but like what if I imagine being Quentin Tarantino and you're like, I'm on my 10th movie and I can never make a movie ever again. And then you're like you're sleeping at night and you just all of a sudden he wakes up and he's like, I got an idea for an 11th one. It's like, now what? You're like, oh shoot. Now what? Because I thought he's gonna have to start creating
Mhm.
under an alias, like a pseudonym. And then he gets on
Right.
stage and he takes off his wig and his hat and it's Quentin Tarantino. And you're like, gosh darn it. You said you were done.
He's back.
It's like every other director that's like breathing a sigh of relief. They're like, thank God, I never have to compete with Tarantino again. And then this dude on stage named Tenton Quarantino gets up on and takes off his fake mustache and it's like, surprise. Yeah, that would be horrifying. Anyway.
So the question I pose real quick before we move on
Mhm.
is um the one song they said that was going to be in the sequel here is a song called "That's Entertainment" from a 1953 movie called The Bandwagon, uh,
Mhm.
which had Judy Garland in it. I have never heard this song. I don't know what it is. That's the only
Nope.
confirmed song to exist. So, is there any
That
other songs that you'd like to hear in the movie? But like that, if they said was in the movie, you'd be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go see that.
didn't they say I thought it was funny because they were like, it will be filled with like well-known, classic songs or whatever, and they were like, "That's entertainment," and the whole
Yeah.
internet was like, "What?" We're like, "What? I've never heard of that song." And they were like, "Yes, the classics." And you're like, "No." um, I don't know. What do you have anything written down? I don't.
I don't have anything written down. I mean, there are like artists I think that would be kind of cool to like see in that format. Like more, I'm curious because the original Joker movie was like kind of took place in the 80s. So
Sure.
I'm wondering if they do that. I don't think we're gonna see any modern stuff. I think we're gonna see like um obviously stuff that is supposed to be in the era of the movie, or else it like kind of doesn't work in a way if you
Yeah,
like
it doesn't.
put
It
some
doesn't make
modern
sense
stuff
if
in
you
a
start
90s
going
setting.
forward.
It's
Right.
like yeah, like imagine putting like Taylor having Lady Gaga sing a Taylor Swift song in a movie set in 1995. It doesn't really
Yeah,
work.
it doesn't work. Well, none of it works. I'm so serious. None of it works, and I don't care what songs they put in this movie. If you want, okay, if you wanted to make a movie including Lady Gaga where she sings in it, one, go watch A Star Is Born. Two,
Yes.
just let her sing her own catalog and release it in theaters. Like
Mhm.
record her silly like her jazz and piano residency or whatever it is. Um, if we're just looking for an excuse to get Lady Gaga to sing, let her sing whatever she wants. She doesn't need to be involved in Joker 2 in order to sing in this. And I don't know, maybe she's very committed to the project. I think I also left out earlier. I forgot that she was in House of Gucci. Um
Yes.
because I was listing some of her other previous projects, and I was like, what was that one where she was very House of Gucci, the one where she was really Italian? And I was like, yes, very good. No, I don't know. I would like them to do at least one overly dramatic something silly, like in the Mean Girls movie, how they had Damien sing the iCarly theme song in French.
Right.
I want them to just take something and just make it kind of absurd for no reason.
Right.
That's like have them do overly dramatic, like Singing in the Rain, and just see what happens. Like, there's what are you gonna do? Worst case, you swing and miss. But I think a lot of people at this point are like, you're probably gonna swing and miss anyway. Like, this is an awards setup. Yes, it's an award setup. It's coming out
Mhm.
along the timeline of trying to win major awards.
Mhm.
It's gonna submit all of its stars for major awards. That there's nothing else to this. There's no substance to this movie. Stop trying to make it deep.
I agree. I agree. All right. Is it time to move into our semi-weekly segment now?
I think it might be. We're gonna be on like an every 2 week kind of schedule
Mhm.
now, which is kind of a bummer. But yeah, let's do it. You want to introduce it because it's your baby?
Yes, it is time for our weekly segment that we are calling Formula 1 Hour, Formula 1 Brain Cell. Here's our highly produced open,
Or
ladies and gentlemen.
the soundboard.
This week,
Oh my
this week we were in Australia for the Australia Grand Prix.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite eventful, ladies and gentlemen. Quite eventful all weekend. Um, it, of course, began um, with the very unfortunate circumstance of Alex Albon completely destroying his car
I
during
don't
during free practice, uh, and Williams not having another chassis with them available to use, and so the car was beyond repair. And so their solution was, "Hey, hey, Logan Sargent, buddy, um, you you're under contract. You didn't crash the car. You've been doing okay this year, better than last year. But why don't you step aside for this race and let Alex take over your car?" It's like,
mm-hmm.
poor Loints. Loints
I
was
have
not to be here.
Loins. Yeah, they robbed us of a chance at Loins this week, but okay. I have a lot of thoughts about that. Namely, one, I thought it was very funny that people were posting I think it's from I Think You Should Leave, that it's he's in the hot dog costume. He's like, "Well, we're all trying to find the guy who did this." And it was like the team principal of Williams being like, what, like, we don't have a spare chassis. It's like, we're all trying to find the guy who did this. So it was like poor management by Williams, because apparently every other competitor, like every other team on the grid, at least has enough. We saw it with freaking Sauber, for goodness sakes. We saw them completely reconstruct Zhou Guanyu's
Hmm.
car in the last Grand Prix, from where he just dug it into the wall in, it might have been free practice 3 too, in FP3, and then they managed to almost get him out in time for qualifying with like a
Hmm.
completely rebuilt car. If Listen, if Sauber Steak, whatever the heck, is doing it better than you, you have problems.
Yes.
Because that team is like, it's barely competitive. Like, we like them because they have personality and they're fun, but they're
Hmm.
barely competitive. But if they're doing it better than you, then you know that you did something wrong. So, one, I think mismanagement on Williams' part. Two, definitely not fair to Logan Sargent, and I can only imagine how he was feeling during that whole part of the process. Three, the entire American Formula One community was pissed because
Hmm.
there's only one American driver on the grid, and so even though, like, realistically he's not that great, they're gonna sneak into the points maybe a couple of times. We're not expecting him to win the drivers championship by
Hmm.
any means, but like, we want him to do well because that's our countrymen out there on the grid. And we were robbed of a chance to get Logan points. It's
Uh,
disappointing. And then
yeah.
Albon just drove an okay race. Whatever.
Yeah, he finished. Alex Albon finished 11th, so he finished just outside the points. Close, but no cigar. He did beat Daniel Ricciardo though in his home race, which is
Most everybody beat Daniel Ricciardo.
it's been pretty.
Yuki Tsunoda beat Daniel Ricciardo, and we should
Mm-hmm.
be talking about that more because they're interviewing Ricciardo and they're like, so what do you think about the possibility? Where's my little microphone? Hold on. I got it around here somewhere.
Mini Mike.
She's little. Okay. But yeah, they'll
Mini
be
Mike.
like talking to Daniel Ricciardo. They're like, Daniel, what do you think about the possibility of you? As I talking to my other microphone, what do you think about the possibility of you getting the Red Bull seat for next year? And he's like, yeah, I'm really excited about the opportunity. And we're all like, Yuki keeps out qualifying you. Where do you think you're going? You spun yourself out. Like I don't understand this. It's like reverse. I can't do it. I can't do it with him. I can't. There's tons of really we talked about this, I believe, the last time we did Formula 1 hour, Formula 1 brain cell, but there's tons of other really good, young,
Mm-hmm.
talented reserve drivers that are like ready to like we saw Ollie Behrman do it. Liam Lawson, like there's
Mm-hmm.
people ready, their teams have guys ready to go that would drive really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And we continue to let I like Danny Rick. I think he's
Me
fun,
too.
but
Great
I
personality.
don't think talent wise he's necessarily there anymore. And you
Mm-hmm.
gotta consider that if you want your team to be
He was trying
competitive.
to make excuses after the race too. He was just like, "Man, I don't know what happened. Like, I felt like I did my best. I was doing great out there, and then for whatever reason, I just didn't still can't contend and finishing 11th."
I just don't vibe with that mindset. That's like if you do something wrong and you know that you did something wrong, just be like, "Hey, that's my fault. I
Mm-hmm.
could have pushed. I could have got more out of the car. Like it's, whatever. I didn't give my best." But it always seems like when they interview him, he's like, "Well, the car isn't keeping up with what I want it to do or it's just something's not quite right." Like just at some point you might have to look in the mirror a little bit and see what's going on with that. But anyway,
All right. Next story. Good news or bad news?
I know what your bad news is going to be, so can we go with good news first?
Yeah, we can go with good news. Let's go with the good news. All right, are you ready to say it with me here on three? Here we go. Three, two, one. Hossie and Bio,
Hacian Bio.
baby.
Good double Hacian Bio.
Double Hossie and Bio
Double Hacian
somehow.
Bio. Such good
Truly,
news for the people.
truly incredible. That's right, everybody. We got both Haas drivers for the first time in like 2 years managed to
Yes.
get themselves in the points. Nico Hulkenberg finished ninth. K Mag finished 10th. What that
And with
means
no
now,
penalties. No
yeah,
penalties for K Mag. That was a
good for
clean
him.
10th.
hmm
Yeah, well done.
Which means now that Haas is seventh in the constructors ahead of Williams, Sauber, and Alpine. They are only 2 points back of RB. So that's points in back to back races for Haas
Love
without
that.
Gunther Steiner. So Hossie and Bio is on a roll, ladies and gentlemen, this year. Look out. Look out.
They're rolling. I love that they had Gunther do some of the post race interviews as well. I was watching that back, thankfully, because I missed the race, right? But because it was at 1 a.m., let's not speak about it. Um, I'll be awake for the future ones, but it was just the stack of things that set up for that time this week where I was like, nah, I don't know if that's gonna happen. Um, but I woke up and they actually had it on. I was on ESPN2 on the plane, and I just caught the very end with some of the
Mhm.
celebrations and the driver interviews and the finish and everything like that. And I was like, there was no sound, obviously, because I didn't have like a wired headphone to plug in. I was like doing something else, and I looked up, and it was like hosted by Gunther Steiner, and I was like, "Hello," and I elbowed our photographer who was next to me, that was also just was roasting me this morning for what happened in the race. But I was like, "Look, it's Gunther," and just like you have to see this. So I don't know whether he did a good job or not. I wasn't
Yeah, I didn't
listening with
I didn't
sound, but I
I didn't
like
see the
him.
interviews
He's
either.
a really
Me too.
fun personality. So
hmm
I like that they continue to have him around in some capacity.
hmm
But
now, unfortunately, to the bad news, and I will tell how this story how it happened in real time. So, um, I was not intending on watching the race, because I was doing an Eras Tour watch party, um, I was doing Eras Tour watch party with Corey, Scotty, and their adorable dog Luna. And Luna's a big Swiftie. If you didn't know that, they're
As
golden
she should be.
retriever.
As she should be.
And so I wasn't intending on watching the race, but I was like, all right, well, I can just bring it up, put it up on my phone, and like put the phone down and watch it. And so I was like, I don't have Hulu or anything, so I don't have cable. So I was like searching on like some sketchy ass websites to try and bring up a Formula One stream.
You're gonna get a virus, Richard.
and and so I pull up I pull it up, and when I do that, the first thing I see is Max Verstappen out of the car, and I was like, what the hell is going on? What why is Max out of the car? Is something must have happened. And cut
It did.
to
Everything
a
happened.
massive pile of black smoke coming out of his rear end. And I was like, oh,
Not
Max
not
is
Max's
out.
rear end, the car's rear end. Clarifying.
Yeah.
Not black smoke coming out of Max's rear end. Let's not put him on the spot like that. We had a bad enough day.
Phrasing.
Mm.
Yeah, so Max, for the first time in I believe like 2 years at least, did not finish the race. Was out on lap 3, unfortunately.
Yeah. I got several text messages about that, and I like woke up this morning and I was like, what happened? So I had to retroactively go back and look at that. And like, not his fault, obviously. It seemed like it was just a brake failure or something, but there was actual fire happening on like his rear right tire, and they went and pulled it off the car and it was still smoking. They had like footage of it that was like the poor Red Bull mechanic that had to like carry this like flaming hot tire away from the car, like get it off there, and it was still smoking. And it was like when the waiter brings your like fajitas at the Mexican restaurant, you know, it was like still smoking, and this poor guy had to run with it like out in front of him. That was like, please don't touch me. But it really like essentially melted his back tire. The Red Bulls were having some issues. There was Checo got some floor damage, I believe, with his pass with Fernando Alonso. So they're gonna have to clean that up. Obviously, it wasn't totally detrimental, but something to look at. Max had a little bit of floor damage in the free practice and the qualifying that ended up in him taking a new power unit, just as a precaution. And I think they did say that first one is still usable, so not a huge deal, because obviously that's something to keep an eye on for allotment for penalties and stuff. But yeah, that wasn't tremendous, and I got roasted a little bit for it, which is fine. And I'll state my case again. I've stated my case a little bit on the show. Is like I've chosen Red Bull as my landing spot, but like more than anything, I'm just really having fun watching F1 this season because I'm brand new to it. I'm like learning all the drivers and all their stuff, and like having fun watching the race every week and seeing what happens. And like more than anything, that's the best part about it. So happy for Ferrari. That was really cool to see them go 1-2. Very happy for McLaren. I think they look really good, sort of like under the radar.
I
Not
was
necessarily.
bummed. I was bummed that they had Lando pass Oscar on team orders, and so they did not give Oscar the podium at his
They should
home
have given
race.
Oscar the podium. He's
Yeah,
an Aussie. You don't do
yeah.
that. I know. I mean, not my team orders, right? But like, I think if it's his home circuit, you give that
Mhm,
man the podium, because
mhm,
they would love it. They would love it.
mhm.
Yeah. But anyway, it was very funny to see Lando's Instagram post as well. I don't know if you saw it, his picture with Carlos, and it was like the two of them together, and he's like, I might need to get my appendix out because like apparently you win races, and then he put hashtag weight loss, and it was like very funny. But it was him and Carlos with like the trophy, and like Carlos had his race suit up, and you could like
Mhm.
see the bandage from his
Yeah.
appendectomy, which is like also so wild that he was racing a car 2 weeks after that. But okay,
That
Formula
yeah.
One, everybody.
And Carlos does not have a seat for next year because Lewis Hamilton is taking his seat, so he goes out, wins a race, is the only driver not named Max Verstappen or Sergio Perez to win a race in the last 2 seasons, right?
Yes. Why does he not have a seat? And I'm like, the Ferrari's in the garage, like, oh my God, is it too late to go back on this contract? Like, Mercedes just has not looked good. And poor George Russell. George Russell had an incident at the end of the race where he
That was
tipped
scary. That was a
over,
scary
essentially
crash.
tipped
There's a
over.
bug that's flying
I can
right.
see it.
I can't.
If you would have caught that just now, I think we would have had to end the podcast because
Mr.
there's not
Miyagi
gonna be
style.
it's not gonna be anything better than that. Yeah, get some chopsticks if you have some. Um, George was like calling for a red flag and they wouldn't give him one, and he was like essentially tipped over in the middle of the
Mhm.
track. It was like, ooh, I don't know how I feel about the driver's safety on that one. Um, but it was weird because it was like, if I had a nickel for every time that Carlos Sainz won a race and George Russell DNF'd or
Yeah,
something, it
right,
was like I'd
right,
have
right.
2 nickels, which is not a lot, but it's weird that it happened more than once. So, anyway, there
Yeah,
was some weird stuff
here,
that happened this week.
yeah, my tweet from last night was what a beautiful race, and
Yeah,
I had
I have something to say about that tweet, and I think you know
yeah,
what it's gonna be, but go
yeah,
ahead.
exactly. Um, number 1, Ferrari double podium. That's cool. Number 2, McLaren 3-4 because I love Lando and Oscar. They're great. And number 3, Hasi and Bio, and
Absolutely.
number 4, Max DNF.
Yeah, you can go ahead and log off for me. I'm changing the password to all the social media accounts and
Hey, at least I didn't tweet that out from the business account, okay? I
not from
kept
the
my
brand account,
I
but
kept
no, you
I kept my
um,
personal feelings to myself.
you kept your personal feelings on your personal Twitter account. You didn't keep your
Yes.
personal feelings to yourself because you tweeted it. Ju just so we're clear, you did put that out
For
on social media.
yes, yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm disappointed for sure. Um, but I don't know. It's hard to be disappointed liking Red Bull because it's like, well, I got mad because in the middle of my it's like if you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan or something, you're like, well, in the middle of us winning 3 Super Bowls, we lost a couple of games and I got really mad.
Yeah.
And we're like, you don't have any right to complain. And like I understand that. So, um I was
They're
going to
still
ask you
Red Bull's still leading in the
barely,
constructors by 4 points over
barely.
Ferrari,
Yeah.
and, Max is also leading, Charles Leclerc in the, driver standings by 4 points.
Also barely. Yeah, Leclerc's putting together a really good season. Ferrari's putting together a really good season. Like
Mhm,
obviously they haven't really been getting the same recognition, but like Leclerc's been right there every single week and Sainz has been right there every
mhm.
single week. And it hasn't been easy.
Makes me
So I
so
don't know.
happy that Lewis is ditching Mercedes. Thank God he's leaving that train wreck of a freaking team right now. Dear
You think
Lord,
so? I am
they're a
I don't know if I
mess.
I don't know if I formally went back on my position because I think I said when we first introduced this segment
Mhm,
that I didn't really like Lewis. I've changed my mind on that. I don't like Lewis as a driver. I do like Lewis as a person. So I have a hard time rooting against him as much as I did at the beginning. I don't really like Mercedes, um, but I do like Lewis as a person. I think he does a good job of using his platform and
mhm,
standing up and talking about issues and like just making sure that he's doing the right stuff from like being a good human being standpoint. I think he is. Um, I just am interested to see whether it's Lewis or whether it's Mercedes, you know what I mean? Like, if he gets to Ferrari and it becomes a train wreck, are people like, "Well, taking Lewis was the wrong move?" He could go to Ferrari and have tons of success. There's also that side of the coin there where it doesn't matter, but I'm interested to see how that goes. Because right now, it's looking like Carlos Sainz would have been the better option, but
mhm, mhm.
we'll see.
What was
Did
your
we have
did you
any
have a
Giga did we have any Giga pit stops this week?
I
I
don't
didn't
think
look at
so.
it.
We did not. No, everybody was clean.
Steak is like, thank God. Yeah. He's like, we can't do another 1 minute pit stop, please. Yeah. That was rough. Yeah, I guess I could get into my singular brain cell. Because I do have to mention that real quick. You do have on the notes April Fool's thoughts, because I guess this is coming out right before April Fool's.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
April Fool's is stupid. Don't do it. I hate it. I hate being on the internet during April Fool's because people all think that they're funny by like tweeting all these things that they're like, I don't know, somebody for sure in the Formula 1 community is going to put out a link that's like Max Verstappen confirmed to join Mercedes for
Right. Right.
It's like all that garbage. You're like, stop tweeting fake links for the engagement. I'm just going to stay off of my phone. April Fool's is dumb. Don't do it. But I also think it's funny if people were like born on April Fool's, because you're like, is it your birthday? Is it? Because my aunt was born on April Fool's Day, and I think that's funny. But yeah. What's your stance?
Yeah, it's not. I'm not a fan. I was never much of a prankster as a kid. It's just not my thing. People are like, anymore. You watch like some of these prank YouTube channels, and they're not even pranks. They're just like straight up mean.
Yeah, they're harmful. I was like,
Like,
whoa.
God dang. I don't have like
Well,
an example on top of my head, but like,
yeah. No, I know what you mean. And I think the formal stance of this podcast is that we shouldn't need a day to be fools. We can just be fools all year long.
we can be fools 24/7. Just follow us on our
365 days
social
a
media.
year. Yep. That's it. We should have closed with that. That would have been a really good closer. We'll circle back to it. I have to air my own I have to air my own stupidity for a minute. Because this just happened this morning, which we could say was slight sleep deprivation, whatever. I was sitting on the plane. I was inconvenienced because I was moved out of my seat by some people people on the team that shall not be named that decided to switch seats. And then so I got walked back. So I walked back down the aisle to where I got essentially relocated to. And I thought I was going to have to sit next to strangers, but I didn't, which was like fine, cuz I was like, why did you feel it necessary to move? So anyway, I just sat next to other people on the team, and I was like, this is fine. And I sat down and I was like digging through my bag and I was looking for my AirPods, and I pulled open my case. I hope this isn't going to do anything weird, but I pulled open my case and it looked like this, which is like there's only one in
There's
there,
only
right?
one.
There's only one in there. And I was like, what happened? Because I did briefly remember like last night, just between sessions and stuff, I had put one in and I was listening to something or I was watching something and I had put it in my pants pocket and I had like zipped it up because I had the little joggers with the zippers on the side. I was like, it must be in a pants pocket somewhere or something. Like, I know that I'm pretty sure I have it because I think I would know if I had lost it. And I did have a smart moment in the middle of this where I like opened my phone and I looked at it and it said that it was connected to both headphones. So I was like, it has to be in range of me somewhere, which makes me feel more comfortable about it. Cause I was like, it's fine as long as it's here somewhere. Like if it's in my suitcase, zipped up in a pair of pants, whatever, like it's fine. I don't care. And my suitcase was straight overhead of me. So I was like, that makes sense why it's connecting. And so I put my right AirPod in and I was like, I'm gonna vibe without it or whatever. And I go to put my head down because I'm on the window. I go to put my head down against the window and I clunk on something. And I elbow our team photographer that's next to me and I was like, Trent. And I hold it out because I had told him about this. I was languishing over this with him for like about 5 minutes explaining the situation. It's like, I don't know where the left one is. I elbowed him and I was like, Trent. And I pulled the left one out of my ear. And it was that might be the dumbest thing I've ever done. And I just also wish that I had discovered by like playing music, you know? If I just like went to play music and then all of a sudden it was in my left side, I would have been like, you dummy. But I found out because I clunked my head against the window trying to go to sleep and it was in my ear. Because I don't remember at what point I took it out of the case and I put it in my ear, but that was a thing that happened. And that makes sense why it was connected to both AirPods because they were physically in my ears. Great work on my part.
Why do I feel like that's something that would that could only happen to either you or myself?
There's a reason we started this podcast, and it is for that reason. Yeah. It's the dumb stuff that you and I do on a regular basis.
That's
Yeah.
too much. That's too much. Oh, speaking of which, I also have a one brain cell moment.
Good. Let's hear it.
Yes. Okay, so this was last week, and I meant to bring it up on last week's show, forgot. So I'm glad that we're doing this because that way we can both show that we're just idiots. Okay, so we went out for happy hour. We went to Mellow Mushroom. Their happy
Okay.
hour
I like that place.
is terrific. It's like it's half off at like after 9 o'clock on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, it's late. Their
It's so
happy
cheap.
hour is late because we used to go there when I worked at the movie theaters because there's one, the one at City North, like way up at the 101, and we used to go there because it was cheap and it was open late, and so whenever we would close, we'd be like, "You guys want pizza?" and we'd like go straight over there. Love Mellow Mushroom. That's a good place.
Exactly. So happy hour. And this is the Friday before St. Patrick's Day. So all of us are drinking. I don't drink that much anymore. I don't ever drink if I almost never drink if I'm at home. So the only time I ever do drink is I'm going out with friends. Okay.
Sure.
So let's see. I'm gonna count here. I had a whiskey. I had a Guinness at that time. So I had 2 drinks in me, and that's it.
Okay.
And I had
So
water.
it's not a lost cause yet. So we can't blame it on that.
Yeah,
is
not
what we're
100%.
saying.
So
Okay.
like I was buzzing.
Yeah.
I was buzzed. Okay,
We
not
were buzzing,
drunk.
but we weren't. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna try my best to like show you kind of what happened here. Okay, so
Okay.
I have you can't really see this, damn it.
We have
but
Max Can.
We have Max Can here. So this is my water, and somebody else is telling a story that's really funny. Don't exactly remember the exact story.
But I remember it was funny.
But I remember it was funny. And so like I'm like laughing my ass off to the point where like I'm doing this kind of like, so the thing is, like, okay, it's like here.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Oh, no.
And I'm like doing this on the table because I think it's bleep. Made an hour into the show and oh damn it. Okay. Please remind me to get rid of that.
Nope.
Probably not. Okay. And so I'm doing that, and at some point I nick my glass with my hand and it goes whoop of water and it spills. Now it doesn't spill on the table. Okay, it does not spill on the table, does not spill in my lap either.
Oh, thank God. I thought that's where that was going.
It does not spill in my lap. Okay. It spills on my half-eaten cheese bread. Like all over this like plate of cheese bread, and I was so sad.
No. Oh, that's so sad. Oh, did you continue to eat it after that?
I tried one. I even took it like off, put it on another plate. I took a napkin and I tried to dab the water off of the cheese bread. Did not work really well. I took one bite. I was like, okay, well, let me just see if it's still edible. And it was not. It was just, oh God, it was disgusting. So don't ever go out with us, folks. We can't be trusted to do anything.
Richie can't be trusted around water. Water glasses at restaurants, I feel, are specifically targeted to hurt me because it's always when you drink most of the water and there's ice left in the bottom and you go to like tip it up and get the rest of the water out and then all the ice slides forward and smacks you in the face. I feel like that happens to me more than a normal adult human. But anyway, we could beef with restaurants on a future episode, but I feel like that personally is like a targeted attack. All right. Well, we cleaned up this week and we did it all in a brisk 1 hour and 3 minutes. We hit all the points. That was,
yeah, look at that.
That's very well done. That's very
great
well done.
episode.
We've been going a little over.
Could not get out of an episode without cussing. I was doing well. I was doing so well. I went like 3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, you were on like a 2-episode streak, but then you just decided to DNF yourself, so that's fine. All right.
My rear end exploded.
Out. Yeah, you're.
Clip that.
There's black smoke coming out of your rear end. All right. I don't know how we go on after that. Well, the formal stance of the podcast is that you can be a fool 365 days of the year. You don't need a specific holiday to do it. We'll close with that because I think that's good. That's good life advice. For my co-host Richie, who has black smoke coming out of his rear end. No timeout. Oh no, do we need a
Make sure to
sponsor?
follow us on all of our social media, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, good. Thank you. We're OHOBC pod on everything. Just let us entertain you from multiple mediums. Because we work too hard to get all of this content put out on all of those social media platforms for you to not look.
Bug, dude. You can see this damn bug that's been flying
No,
around.
I definitely saw it. I definitely saw it earlier. It's in there. It's in there at some point. I'll go back and find it.
God damn it. Where the
No, for my co-host Richie, who's beefing with a fly at the moment.
It's not even a fly, it's a bug.
It's a He's beefing with a bug at the moment. Sorry, clarifying. I have been and remain your other co-host Jordan. We are dumb, but please follow us. And thanks for being here for this totally random and not at all interconnected episode, number 15 of the 1 Hour 1 Brain Cell podcast. You got anything else?
Cerveza cristal. Cerveza cristal. This is the way.